So, welcome to the first episode of Cloudy with a Chance of Desktops. My name's Sean Massey. I'm going to be the host of this new podcast, and I'm really excited to get this kicked off. It's been a while since I've tried hosting my own podcast. And what I hope to cover here is, cloud, desktops, VDI. Hope to go into a little bit of AI and some of the other fun emerging technologies. And that's going to bring us to our first episode today. Joining me is a longtime friend of mine. We work together on a number of different boards and community groups, and that's going to be Stephen Wagner. Stephen just got back from GTC, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that conference and some other cool things that are going on in the EUC and GPU space. So, Stephen, thank you for being the first guest on this podcast. Would you like to introduce yourself to everybody out at home?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Sean. So I am a enthusiast when it comes to a lot of information technology. I own a IT consulting firm up here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I also volunteer on the board with you, Sean, for World of EUC, a platform agnostic community for EUC and VDI professionals. Generally, I'm just love technology. I love virtualization. I love VDI technologies. I also have a blog at stephenwagner.com where I blog about how to deploy a lot of these technologies, how to deal with issues, and pretty much just put my thoughts out there for the community to read. So I guess you could say I'm just a big geek.
Well, you and me both.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to dive into our first topic here, which is NVIDIA's GTC conference. You've been there now a couple times. The most recent one was back in March, so just a few weeks ago. What can you tell us about GTC this year, and what were your impressions of the conference?
First and foremost, it was big. As we all know, AI is a new and up and coming technology that is capturing the world by storm. I think this year there was about 25,000 people, and that is a lot of people to pack into a small space. It's significantly larger than the previous year. But with all that being said, with the larger amount of folks attending the conference, we have more technologies, we have more vendors, we have product announcements coming from NVIDIA. So it was busy. It was great. There was a lot to learn. It was just an amazing time where we can learn about all the technologies that are coming out specifically with AI.
Yeah, it's cool. And, I unfortunately did not get to go to GTC this year. The last time I went was back in 2019 before COVID. So it sounds like it has grown a lot. And 25,000 people is VMworld numbers, pre-COVID VMworld numbers. So one of the things I saw on LinkedIn is somebody saying that, if you miss the old VMworld, go to GTC because it has that same vibe. Would you kind of agree with that?
So it definitely has a vibe, but it's a different type of vibe. So, for example, like Sean, a lot of the conferences that you and I go to, I'm not trying to sound like we're know-it-alls or anything, but for the most part, the anything pertaining to virtualization and VDI, like we're subject matter experts. So we're like, you do your talks, I'm participating in panels. So the thing is that for those types of conferences, it's more about the community sharing knowledge and learning about product announcements. GTC is a completely different world. So when I go there, I am a newbie. I am learning. I'm trying to learn about what's happening. When it comes to AI specifically, I'm noticing that there's a very large disconnect between the data scientists, the software developers, and actual infrastructure and technology enablement when it comes to AI. So there's huge possibilities in the future moving forward. And this is what's so great is because when you're there on the floor having conversations with these companies and attendees, you can gain perspectives that you've never had before. You can get into conversations that are just amazing where you can brainstorm with other people. One of my favorite things to do at GTC is for example, dinner with strangers. You get paired up with a whole bunch of different people and you can learn about different industries, how they're deploying AI, the challenges that they're having. And then I can contribute with my own stories as to how to deal with the infrastructure component of it.
Okay, cool. So you mentioned a few seconds ago, the announcements at GTC, that there were a lot of things that a lot of products that were announced by the different vendors that attended. Were there any announcements that excited you or kind of stood out to you, or general thoughts about what NVIDIA and other companies announced?
Yeah, so there's quite a bit going on. So last year it was all about Blackwell, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the big announcement last year was the GB200, and I think this year they announced the GB200 Ultra, and they also announced the GB300.
Hmm.
So there was a lot of talk about that. There was a lot of talk about everything new that's happening with NVLink. There was something that was super exciting was the discussion about photonics being used, I believe, in some of their switches. So this is all brand spanking new technology that's really exciting. I'm hoping one day I'll get a chance to deploy it. But it's pretty cool. And then on top of that too, there was a big emphasis put on AI workstations.
Hmm.
So we were all of us were excited when the NVIDIA digits were announced, and I think they've renamed it now to the NVIDIA Spark. And
Yep.
there's a big focus on AI-enabled workstations, and so these are
Hmm.
workstations that developers can use to develop AI workloads. And then on top of that, too, the really exciting thing is one thing that NVIDIA has always been open about, or has been, and is being even more open about in the future, is extended roadmaps. And so they were talking about the Vera Rubin architecture, which I believe is supposed to be 3 years down the road. So it's pretty exciting stuff.
Cool. Yeah, and I know I tried watching some of the keynote remotely, and I remember hearing about like the Blackwell Ultra um, chip, which is bigger, and then Vera Rubin, and the AI workstation stuff and AI workspaces. There seems to be, like you mentioned, right, a lot of talk about that, right? Like Spark. There's a bigger one that they have. I can't remember the name of it. There was also a lot of excitement, I think, when they opened the pre-orders for Spark. I know I got mine in right away. Um, I'm hoping I'll be able to get that, somewhat soon, because that looks like a really exciting piece of hardware, right? Like a petaflop supercomputer that's the size of a paperback book, um, to do AI development on, and it has enough unified RAM, I think is how they termed it, or enough frame buffer to fit, the large models,
Yeah.
right? The large, like Llama 370 and some of those other really large parameter models for LLMs. Right? That's really exciting at that price point, because otherwise you have to have like multiple 5090s just to be able to do the same thing in a home lab.
Yeah.
So on the topic of AI workspaces, right? What is an AI workspace really? What does it come down to? How would you use it? Who is it targeted for?
Yeah, so AI workspaces and development workstations. This is a very interesting topic. So let's say that you were working for a small organization and you need to enable developers. Like the Spark would be perfect to provide home user access if you don't have complicated infrastructure at your organization.
Mhm.
And then they have those higher end workstations. So we're talking AI in its infancy for organizations. So we're talking prototyping, we're talking POCs, and essentially these are development workstations where companies can start to develop and create that workload, which would then
Mhm.
later allow them to put it into something in production, like with the DGX clusters, or purchasing a whole bunch of Blackwell-based servers and that sort of stuff.
Okay. All right, in some ways, this kind of reminds me of the '90s for computing, right? Like, you went from like the 386 and 486 to Pentium 2, and there was just so much advancement so quickly that you couldn't keep up. Do you get that kind of same feel around AI, where it's like every year it seems like we're making huge leaps, in terms of hardware, in terms of software, and in terms of capabilities? Did that kind of stand out to you at GTC at all?
Every minute things are changing. By the
Mhm.
With the time that we started this podcast and to where we are now, things have changed substantially. This is an ever evolving technology that there will never be any experts there will only be those who keep up and keep up to date and keep working on either developing the technologies or implementing the technologies. This is an industry that is going to have exponential growth as we move on with time, and things are just going to get cooler and cooler as the days and the minutes go by.
Cool.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have ended that one on cool, right? Because it's so now switching gears a little bit. We're both very active in the community, and one of the programs we're active in is the NVIDIA Enterprise Platform Architect or Platform Advisors, or NEPA program. So what is the NEPA? Can you tell viewers a little bit about that and what some of the benefits of joining are?
Yeah, so the NEPA program is focused on it's a group of individuals who are experts with NVIDIA enterprise platforms. The specific group itself has a focus on vGPU technologies, which is in a few moments I want to jump into. I want to backtrack to the AI workstations and incorporate the
Okay.
vGPU technologies. But essentially, it's a group of individuals who are known for contributing to the community, advising the community, organizations, providers on enterprise platforms that consist of NVIDIA technologies.
Okay. So, you said you want to backtrack a little bit to talk about vGPUs and AI workspaces. So, how do those go together?
So this is something that I see as an extremely powerful pairing, both AI development, prototyping, and vGPU technologies. So
Yeah.
I've mentioned this in a couple other interviews I've done and some conversations I've had with individuals. But when we start talking about, let's say you have an organization, you have 30 developers. Do you really want to spend $10,000, $15,000, or $8,000 on AI development workstations? Or would you actually, if your organization had a VDI environment that had NVIDIA vGPU technology, wouldn't you want to just deploy virtualized AI development workstations from an environment that you already have with infrastructure that you already have? You can enable developers to work from anywhere in the world with no data on their endpoints. I see this as the future of AI development for companies that are doing this. And I don't think that this topic is being talked about enough.
Okay. So what you're saying then is, you're taking some of the benefits of VDI, right? You're keeping it in the data center. You don't have to worry about, data leaking out on a laptop or a desktop somewhere that gets disposed of improperly. Plus proximity to whatever those, data lakes or data warehouses are. And by mapping that, or by merging that with the GPU technologies, they also get that ability to do some like AI development locally. And by locally, we mean on their desktop. They don't have to go out to the cloud somewhere to do it. Is that
Exactly.
a kind of a good summary?
Yeah, and it's all private. And
Mm-hmm.
these AI development environments that you provision to users can be dynamically allocated. So using NVIDIA vGPU technology, if you have a user that only needs, like a 12 gig profile, you can allocate it to that developer. If you have a user that needs to have multiple physical GPUs inside of a server environment dedicated to their VM, you can dynamically allocate that on the fly. So you end up with
Mm-hmm.
this extremely fluid, composable infrastructure where you can enable AI developers. And I see tremendous value in that moving forward.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely see the value there too. And one other thing that might be valuable is because it's server based. If you need to upgrade GPUs or a newer GPU that fits your form factor comes out, you don't necessarily have to buy all new desktops to replace it, or have people take downtime on their local machines to send a tech out to update the GPU. You can offline the server, put the new GPUs in, or replace the GPUs, and then move people over to the new ones with very minimal disruption and downtime.
Exactly. And so right now we're just talking about the physical aspect of deploying the
Mm-hmm.
environment. Same thing applies for the software and the operating system side of things. These environments that you allocate can be completely predefined and composed and replicated and cloned. So if
Hmm.
you need to have a preset development environment configured, you could dynamically deploy it to 20 users on the fly immediately. And the ease of access, whether you allow BYOD, bring your own device, or if you have organization based endpoints, or you could be using thinner zero clients. Essentially, as long as they
Hmm.
can connect to the VDI environment, they have access to this extremely powerful AI development workstation.
Yeah, and because it's dealing again with all corporate data, because it's in your data center, you don't have to worry about stuff getting out, which is a really important point. And you can kind of build a security box around that, which I think is going to also be really important for organizations looking at doing AI development, because in a lot of ways that's going to become their kind of secret sauce and their trade secrets as they build AI to match their business model.
Yeah. And that's a really good point too, because for example, like a lot of the AI tool sets that are out there are open source, or they come with very easy licensing governance on them. And so the thing is that while it's easy to get going with AI, when you start actually
Mhm.
putting your secret sauce into it, your intellectual property, you want to make sure that you keep that secure. And so with conversations that I've been having with customers, they don't want to toss this in the public cloud. Like whether we're talking like finance and proprietary trading algorithms, or if we're talking about hospitals that have to adhere to HIPAA, this is all data that we do not want leaving the private network. And so by dealing with this inside of by developing for these applications inside of your own environment, everything stays private. Any code that you
Mhm.
develop stays private. The data that you throw into it stays private. And so again, it's another value upsell point, where it justifies this type of application being used.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot of development along that in terms of, how to build those virtual AI workstations over the next couple of years. Because I think to the point you made, right, there's going to be a lot of interest in this, and there's it's going to be a huge need. And I'm not sure if the architecture and the know-how is there quite yet. I mean, for a lot of people in the EUC space, we've worked with GPUs for a long time. This is just kind of an extension of that, but there's still a lot of other stuff to go around that in terms of application delivery. And I think this is going to be kind of like a merging of the CAD engineer, because they need the GPU, and the developer use case, where they're going to have a customized development environment that they specifically build, that they want, with their tooling and their debugging tools and all that, to do this work. So there's some really exciting stuff coming in this space. Now I want to switch gears here on our final question, and let's talk a little bit about World of EUC and EUC World. As you mentioned at the beginning, we're both on the board of that organization. So, can you tell us a little bit about World of EUC, and then what EUC World is, and kind of some of the things that people should be getting excited for?
Yeah. So if you haven't heard, which you should have, World of EUC, we started up last year. We just got past our 1 year birthday. Like I mentioned before, platform agnostic community, for the community, by the community, covering VDI and EUC technologies. Last year was a very, very busy year. Tremendous success with our founding partners. We appreciate their support, and it was just great with the community really coming together to create this, especially with everything that's happened inside of our industry and related industries in the last few years. That
Mm-hmm.
includes like the CUGC groups getting dissolved, and just the community essentially needing a new place to come together. Same thing with VMware separating off the VMware EUC business unit, which is now Omnissa. A lot of folks are looking for a community where they can connect with other professionals in the same space. So it's turned out to be great. We have had a number of local meets. Last year we had EUC World Independence, which was fantastic. We hit and exceeded our attendance goals. It was a great time. People were there presenting, sharing their knowledge, and it was just great to get everyone out face to face and to shake hands again. And same thing we're doing this year with EUC World Amplify. Sean, I think it's August 4th to 7th.
Yeah, yes, that sounds about right.
Yeah, as board members, we should know this. I'm
Yeah, we should.
yeah. but yeah, this year is going to be great. We've tacked on another day. We've extended the allowed attendance numbers, and last year went off without a hitch. But even
Mhm.
with that being said, there's always room for improvement. So EUC World Amplify this year is just going to be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and EUC World Amplify. It's the first full week of August. So yeah, I believe it's like the fourth to the seventh. I can't talk right now. Um, I don't have my calendar up in front of me, unfortunately, so I can't confirm that, but it's right around that time. It's in Minneapolis this year.
Yeah.
Last year we had it in Silver Spring, Maryland, so just outside Washington, D.C. This year we're going to be in Minneapolis. To learn more about that, it's on the World of EUC website at www.worldofeuc.org, and then you just click on the link for EUC World 2025 or EUC World Amplify. Um, so with that, is there anything else that people should know about World of EUC or EUC World? Um, any sort of I don't know, just cool things to know about it. I think we just announced our speakers. We
Yeah.
have a
And I think, Sean, you and I are doing a session together, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Horizon. So we've got a whole bunch of other individuals that are coming out talking about various platforms and technologies. We even have some customers that are doing some presentations. So it's going to be great. When we start talking about World of EUC as a whole, we're looking for leaders. We want to get local groups set up. So if in your area, if you're watching this, check to see if there's a group. If there is, try to attend the local meetings. It's great and it's fun. And if there isn't a group, if you're interested in leading a group, reach out to hq@worldofeuc.org and get involved. We're looking for volunteers all over the place, whether you're in Canada or the United States. So please reach out, get involved, attend the local meets. If you can, make it out to the conference. It's going to be an amazing time.
It is, and I'm really excited for this. I just want to mention something too quickly, since we're both on the World of EUC board. I think we should call out our founding partners quickly, um, just to make sure they're being represented. So the founding partners of World of EUC are Tenzig, Goliath, iGel, Liquidware, Omnissa, Nerdio, Nutanix, and then we have a founding partner in Choice Solutions on the solutions provider side as well. Um, so they are not sponsoring this podcast, but they sponsor the organization that Stephen and I sit on the board on. So I just wanted to call them out here quickly. So with that, I know we're coming up on time here pretty quickly. So Stephen, I just want to kind of wrap this up. Thank you for joining today. Can you just tell everybody where they can find you online, either on like socials or where your blog is again, so they can connect and follow or connect with you and see all the good stuff you're doing?
Yeah, well, again, thanks for having me. So if you want to reach out, you can go to my blog at www.stephenwagner.com, and that's spelled Stephen. You can also find me on LinkedIn. You can add me on all the various social media platforms. I'm a friendly guy, so always feel free to reach out if you have any questions or if I can be of assistance or if you want to get involved in any of the different communities. I'm also a VMUG regional champion for Western Canada. So if you're looking to get involved in those communities, again, feel free to reach out. Always looking to get more people out to the meets and get them involved. So I guess with that being said, I appreciate being on the first episode here, Sean.
Oh, well, thanks for making some time for me this week to do this recording. So with that, thank you again, Stephen, for joining. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad that you are the first episode of Cloudy with a Chance of Desktops. Now, if you liked what you saw, if you want to keep up to date on end user computing technologies, if you want to keep up to date on AI and any other cool stuff, I have a lot more planned. I am looking to not only do more podcasts and interviews like this one, but I'm also starting to look at how-to videos for some different technologies. So hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, um, ring the bell for notifications, and all those other general YouTube podcasty type call to actions. I want to thank you for joining today. I hope you have a great day, and catch us on the next episode.